something that's important to think about is, the ethics of like if it's alive, does it have rights? But for now, it's just a computer program. Um, so I think it's closer to being a tool. It's just another tool in our arsenal. It's just like using a program, which we're all familiar with doing, um, or an application. It's just a different type of application. Um, and maybe it's okay to put a little bit of a magic spin on it, and that's kind of cute. And you've probably noticed that everyone seems to use purple sparkles as like the standard icon for AI, which is kind of funny because the idea is that it's like casting a magic spell, right? So, maybe it can exist somewhere in the middle between those. But overall, it's just important to keep in mind that, we're just using an application, right? So it's not something to be afraid of. It's something we've all done before. It's not really any different than using Microsoft Word or using the internet, which most of us are comfortable doing already. So it's not something to be afraid of. So my idea that I mentioned earlier is that this presentation should give people like a standard level of literacy about AI. So you're not just like a caveman using this magic tool, you have some understanding of like what's happening and why and how it works. Um, just like in medicine, where you want to understand the whole body because things are related to one another, it's important with AI to look at it holistically as well, to understand how each of the different parts work, at least conceptually, right? I'm not expecting people to come out of this course and program their own AI, writing it from scratch. Almost no AI programmers are writing from scratch anyway. They're using other people's work from before them, right? People are just adding to systems. But that adding to systems creates complexity where it becomes important to understand how some of these different subsystems work. Um, and, I think that people can recognize the value of having some basic understanding, right? Like you drive a car and it's probably safer if you understand the basics of like how brakes work, how tires work, how to, pump your tires, how to jumpstart your car, um, check the oil level, things like that. If you understand some of those basics, it can be safer to operate that car. So, we recognize that basic understanding can be helpful, even though just because you can inflate the tires in your car, you may not be able to disassemble the engine and put it back together again or replace a part that's more complex. There's still value in that basic level of understanding. All right, so I want to go back to kind of the introduction of AI. Things that people might call AI have actually been around for at least 20 years. A lot of that goes back to natural language processing. And we've probably all used this before. Like if you ask Siri or Alexa a question and it's in a sentence format, it's still going to be able to give you an answer to your search, right? So you might search for like, what is the best tacos in New York? Right? And Google knows how to take that sentence, how to interpret that natural language, right? How to process it and turn it into computer speak.